John this weekend. He's got some family priorities that he's going to be taking care of. You know, you got to do that from time to time. So it'll be Matt and myself as we roll on. And whew, we got a lot to get to. Indycar kind of did a state of the series look. We'll give you an overview of it coming up. Red Bull deciding about what to do on the Christian Horner allegations, and is F1 and the FIA happy about it? We'll talk about that. Big penalties from NASCAR coming down for 2 Cup Series teams. Got another late model driver going to get a chance to race in the upper levels of NASCAR. Got more moves being made in the NHRA as they are on the eve of their 2024 season officially getting underway. We got racers being racers, Formula E drivers set to race outside of that series. Good grief. That's just tip of the iceberg. But trust me, this ain't the Titanic. We ain't sinking. We're going to bring it all to you next on CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome into the show. I'm Steve West along with Matt Nicholson. Again, producer John Myers is dealing with some family stuff this weekend, so he will not be here. And I think he said not next weekend either.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe 2 weeks from now. Hopefully we'll have him back. Busy week last weekend, busier weekend this weekend, which actually began last night. We'll get to that in a minute. First of all, let's talk about Atlanta. You and I had the chance to go over there, watch some really good racing, actually. And to those who are new to this particular show, we've said this, I don't even know how many years now that we've said this. Really, any time that we see Kyle Busch on the entry list into a Craftsman Truck Series race, we automatically pencil him in as the winner. It's just what we do. Last year, he sold his operation, Spire Motorsports. You probably heard all about that, especially if you're a longtime listener to this particular program. But they did ask him to return and drive one of his old trucks at Atlanta. Does the pencil still work? Yeah, there's a lot of lead in it, as it turns out. He got into the number 7 Spire Motorsports truck. He wasted little time getting the truck up to the front of the field, got by Grant Enfinger with 6 laps to go, claimed his 7th career win at Atlanta in the Truck Series, and a record number wins in the series continues to climb. It now sits at 65. I don't know if that's ever going to be broken.
Very doubtful.
I mean,
Very doubtful.
even career guys like Matt Crafton aren't anywhere near that.
No, that will very likely be untouched.
I get the funny feeling you're right. Busch wins. Ty Majeski was second, followed by Corey Heim. Taylor Gray has had a couple of good races considering last night, which we'll get to again in a minute. Nick Sanchez, Caden Honeycutt, Tyler Ankrum, Rajah Caruth, Daniel Dye, Dean Thompson filling out your top 10. Nick Sanchez's win in Daytona has him locked into the playoffs. After that, it's everybody on points. It was Tyler Ankrum, Ty Majeski, Corey Heim, Rajah Caruth, Alabama's own Brett Holmes, Matt Crafton, Taylor Gray, Christian Eckes, Daniel Dye. They were all in on points. Grant Enfinger was sitting just on the outside looking in. We will update that, of course, when we talk about last night's race. After the Truck Series race and a short break to make sure everything was clean and, well, give the winner a chance to celebrate in victory lane, the Xfinity Series took to Atlanta, and it turned into a gas mileage race, several leaders having to drop out of line to grab a splash of gas with less than 5 to go, including, as it turned out, pole sitter Jesse Love, who on an overtime restart had his car run out of gas. All of that allowed Daytona winner Austin Hill to jump up and grab what he thought was a somewhat improbable win. He inherited the lead when Love had to drop out, claimed season-opening back-to-back wins. Chandler Smith second, Shane Van Gisbergen there in third. Couple of good weeks for him. Now we'll see what he does without that particular package as they go to Vegas. Rest of your top 10, Sheldon Creed, Parker Retzlaff, Jeremy Clements, Anthony Alfredo, Jeffrey Earnhardt, Ryan Truex, and Sammy Smith. Now you've got the 2 wins from Austin Hill. He's locked into the playoffs. Everybody else is in on points. Sheldon Creed, Riley Earpst with a decent start to his year. Chandler Smith, Jesse Love, Parker Retzlaff, Ryan Truex, AJ Allmendinger, Shane Van Gisbergen up in there. Sammy Smith, Justin Allgaier, your defending champion Cole Custer, barely in on points. He's the last one in. Brandon Jones, the first driver out at this time. As we head into today's race, by the way. Cup Series had the stage all to itself last Sunday. The race really did live up to expectations. Probably more exciting than some might have feared. But at the same time, there were less than 10 cars at the end that had not been involved in a crash of some sort. I think the end result was 5 cars had not been involved in a spin or an accident.
It was 8.
Was it 8? I thought I heard 5 at some point in time.
It was 8.
Maybe it was 5 that didn't have any form of damage.
Right.
That must have been what it was.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, folks.
That's wild. That was bringing back shades of Talladega 2019.
Yeah, I can see that.
2019.
Final yellow came out when Chase Briscoe, who could run up front really all day, tried a move that turned out to be just a little bit too aggressive. He spun himself out. When they re-racked the field, defending series champion Ryan Blaney was trying to hold off Kyle Busch on the final lap, and then Daniel Suarez got in on the party on the backstretch. The trio going through turns 3 and 4, 3 wide, and that's how they crossed the finish line. Heck, even Fox Sports' Clint Boyer was fooled. It was so close. He said live on the air he thought it was Ryan Blaney that had come up with a win. Turned out, nope. It's Daniel Suarez. He was on the outside of that 3-wide photo finish that claimed the win, marking the 3rd slimmest margin of victory in Cup Series history at .003 seconds. That's 3/1000ths of a second. The only slimmer margins are tied at 2 1,000ths. That, again, happened twice. The first time, the Kurt Busch, Ricky Craven finish at Darlington in March of 2013. And then we were there. I'm sorry, 2003, not 2013. 2003. Then we were there in April of 2011 at Talladega when Jimmy Johnson bested Clint Boyer by the exact same .002 margin. That was during the heyday of the tandem racing.
I found we've got a surprise image that I found last night that we added into our image slideshow this morning. This is courtesy from NASCAR. This is called a split screen image.
Okay.
Now, when you see, typically you see the image from the start finish line at the flag stand looking in. This image that is about to come up is looking from inside out. It's called a slit screen image.
Mm-hmm.
The image, when it comes up right here on CRN Live, if you look real carefully, there is a solid red line that's through the middle of the photo. That solid red line is the actual timing line that the race is ran off of.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that image right there. You got the red line. Look at Suarez's nose versus Blaney's nose.
Yeah.
That's effectively 4 inches.
The one in the middle there is Kyle Busch. Just to let you know.
Dead middle's Kyle Busch.
Yep.
That's effectively 4 inches.
Heck, maybe not even.
If that much.
Yeah, maybe not even. The one thing that kind of bothers me about this, because for the spectators, whether you were watching on television, truth be told, whether you were listening on the radio, watching on television, or whether you were there live in person, this is what we as fans love. We love this close racing, oh my gosh, who was it that finished at the end stuff. Kyle Busch comes out and says, I hate the fact that it was a Lightning McQueen finish, which references the first Cars movie where Lightning McQueen stuck his tongue out and claimed the win. In the middle, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. He might be the only one who hates this. I'm all of us that were up topside, when they coming into 3 and 4 and it was 3 wide, we was going, no, this ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work. Oh yeah, we all thought we were about to come up with some massive piece of carnage that might take out 3/4 of the field. And they get off of 4 and we're going, oh my God, this is gonna work. Yeah, we didn't think it would. And everybody, if up topside, if we would have had a rail and it being outside, outdoors, everybody that was on that top level with us would have been hanging off the rail. If not falling over. Yeah. I mean, we were all pressed up against windows and everything in the press box, just trying to get as close a look as we could. It looked, and even I said, Blaney by a fraction. Oh yeah. And then something told me, glance up at the scoring tower, and I said, Yeah. And then we all turned up and looked up at the screen where the SMT data was, and it had .003. Yeah. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. It was nuts. It was a fantastic race. They really did a great job. I'm one of the very few fortunate ones that have seen the top 3 finishes in Cup Series history all live. There you go. Very cool. All right. Suarez bests Ryan Blaney, again, .003. The Kyle Busch gap, .077 in third. Austin Cindric, fourth. Bubba Wallace, fifth. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was sixth. Then Ross Chastain, your pole sitter, Michael McDowell. Chris Buescher and Ty Gibbs fell out the top 10. Now, William Byron and Daniel Suarez are locked into the playoffs for the Cup Series after 2 races. The rest in on points in this early stage. Kyle Busch, then Austin Cindric, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Ross Chastain, Alex Bowman, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Larson, Corey LaJoie, John Hunter Nemechek, Ty Gibbs, Chris Buescher, and Eric Jones. Christopher Bell comes out of last weekend at Atlanta, barely missing out on the top 16. Of course, a lot of changes between now and the end of race number 26, or the end of the regular season. So don't think that that's going to stick. Some of these guys will. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Some of these guys will. Some will. But not all of them. I mean, I don't mean any disrespect to the John Hunter Nemecheks or maybe even the Corey LaJoies. I think Corey is in a good position. Jury's still out for me on Spire Motorsports as a Cup team overall. Christopher Bell being on the outside looking in, I don't think that's going to stick either. So yeah, a lot of room for movement, and that's the separation will start this weekend. And there are several drivers that are well outside right now of the top 16. Joey Logano, that you just look and say that's not going to hold. It just doesn't make sense. Yep. This weekend slate of racing actually began last night. Craftsman Truck Series running the Victoria's Voice Foundation 200 presented by Westgate Resorts. No wonder they didn't say that all last night a whole lot. That was at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Matt, you got a quick recap for us here? Yep. Top 10 recap. We got a brand new winner. Man, before we go to this upcoming break, I'm probably going to go on a little bit of a rant, and I'm apologizing in advance. But because I know who you're talking about. Well, there's some more. There's some more to it. Oh, there's more to it. After the race last night, there's going to be more I had to. Oh, okay. I got you. All right. Taking his first career win last night in the Victoria's Voice Foundation 200 presented by Westgate. You
had
had to do it, didn't you?
A Spire truck or affiliated truck. Spire is now 3 for 3 this year.
Yeah. I mean, you got to give it to him. I mean, but here's the thing. Again, remember, this is the Kyle Busch Motorsports team for all intents and purposes.
It is.
We know how good they are.
This is effectively the 51 truck from last year.
Yeah.
Because
we know how good they are.
The Ford truck from last year is the 77 for this year. This is the 51. You got Rajah Caruth taking his first career win. You had Tyler Ankrum P2, Corey Heim in third, Taylor Gray with the top 5 in fourth, and Christopher Bell in a one-off was fifth. You had Christian Eckes sixth, Matt Crafton seventh, Zane Smith in eighth, and a fourth McAnally Hilgeman truck. You had Grant Enfinger ninth, and Ty Majeski in 10th. Running through some more through the field, you got Jack Garcia 11th, Brett Holmes coming up from 20th to 12th. Ben Rhodes 13th, Kyle Busch was 15th, Chase Purdy 16th.
Yeah, he had some problems, by the way, just to let you know. The reason why we didn't pencil in Kyle Busch as the winner, he had a
pit road penalty.
Yeah.
And Chase Purdy 16th, Nick Sanchez 17th. You had Ty Dillon 26th. He's still having some trouble. And that's really it. It was much more of a calmer race last night with only 4 natural cautions.
Yeah.
With a 2-stage breaks, and had 1 caution early in the race and 1 caution on lap 68.
It's like after Daytona, everybody in the Truck Series said, "Hey, wait a minute, let's calm down a little bit."
Yep, and giving a quick run through the unofficial points through race number 3. This is per the order through NASCAR. You've got Tyler Ankrum leading. You got Ty Majeski second, Corey Heim third, Rajah Caruth fourth, Nick Sanchez fifth, Taylor Gray 6th, Matt Crafton 7th, Brett Holmes sitting 8th. That would be your playoffs as they sit right now, with Sanchez and Caruth locked in with wins.
Yeah. Christian Eckes, Grant Enfinger kind of hanging on with skin of their teeth right now. Daniel Dye on the outside looking in. If you take Eckes and Grant Enfinger, they're tied at 85. Daniel Dye is sitting at 66, tied with Stuart Friesen, so that's almost 20 points back already.
That is from 10th to 11th, that is a substantially large separation.
Yeah, and like you said, Rajah Caruth and Nick Sanchez already locked in because of their wins. Because by now, if somebody had been disqualified, Rajah Caruth, we would have already heard about it. So there you go.
But this is my early morning plea to sports broadcasting in general. First step. This is point A. It doesn't matter if you're doing motorsports, football, basketball, etc.
Right.
The reason I threw basketball in is because I heard this recently on a basketball broadcast. In this very state that we're broadcasting from. That's going to be my first point. Stated that Decatur, Muscle Shoals area was only an hour and a half from Auburn University. No. You're lucky if it's an hour and a half from Birmingham.
Yeah, you're flying if it's an hour and a half from Birmingham.
Yeah, you're absolutely moving. No.
Especially Muscle Shoals.
Yeah.
Decatur's possible.
Yeah.
In an hour and a half. Now, again, you're moving.
Muscle Shoals.
Yeah.
You're moving. Matter of fact, it was Muscle Shoals because they were talking about the point guard from the University of Alabama, Mark Sears. He's from Muscle Shoals.
Okay. Yeah, because there's no interstate to get you from Birmingham, much less Auburn, but Birmingham to Muscle Shoals, there's no interstate. At least you could do interstate from Birmingham to Decatur.
You could get off of Highway 72 to cut over to Muscle Shoals. But I wanted to beat my head through a sheetrock wall with cinder block behind it last night. Jamie Little.
Yeah.
Love you to death.
Oh, yeah.
You're a good pit road reporter.
She is.
You've got to brush up on your booth skills.
Yeah, she does.
Because
she's a little raw still. I like where she's going. She's got a good presence on the microphone. She can lead the others that are in the booth with her. But again, she seems a bit overwhelmed by the moment a little too often, kind of like somebody else that we know and work with a couple of times a year.
And I'm not a fan of Rutgers University, by the way. I'm going to tease that one. Learn your geographics of where the driver you are talking about is from.
Yeah.
Because, Jamie, as Brett Holmes was qualifying yesterday on a national broadcast,
Yes.
Munford, Alabama is not 30 minutes from Talladega Superspeedway.
You can almost see
You can see Munford from Talladega.
Yeah. We can look over from where we are in the PA booth. We can look over the backstretch and see where Munford is. It's that close.
It is literally 5 miles as the crow flies, if not less. That is...
It's not 30 minutes.
No. If it's 30 minutes down Curry Station and Watts Road, you're following a farm tractor all the way and cannot pass.
If you walk straight, now granted you'd be trespassing on some property, but if people would allow you to walk straight out of the back of Talladega into Munford, it might take you 30 minutes to walk it. Might.
You would be in Munford town limits by walking.
Yeah.
That quick.
In 30 minutes, easy. Today, actually, matter of fact, about 40 minutes from now, Formula One set to kick off their 2024 season with the Gulf Air Bahrain Grand Prix. 15 turns, 3.2 miles long on the Bahrain International Circuit. It'll be on ESPN starting 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central Time. We'll keep you updated on it up until the end of our show. Max Verstappen, there's a shock, sits on the pole. Charles Leclerc joins him on the front row. Others of note, Lewis Hamilton starts 9th. Nico Hülkenberg in the Haas F1 rolls off 10th. The other Haas, Kevin Magnussen, will be 15th. Both Alpines start last on the field. But it is interesting to note that this is a very, very tight field. If you go from Max Verstappen to the last one, the Alpine, the split between first and 20th is 9/10 of a second.
Tight field.
9/10 of a second.
Tight, very tight field.
So we'll see how it goes. Should be an interesting race. Then we turn to the Xfinity Series race in Las Vegas, a race that's simply called the La Union. It's a 300-mile race. It airs on Fox Sports 1 and PRN Radio. 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central Time. Defending series champion Cole Custer grabbed the pole. He will lead the field to the green with Chandler Smith joining him on the front row. And then tomorrow, Cup Series takes to Las Vegas Motor Speedway to run the Pennzoil 400 presented by Jiffy Lube. Fox and PRN Radio have the race coverage starting 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Central Time. Formula E still off, and the other series have yet to begin their season, but that's coming soon. And for those of you that don't know, we talk about it several times throughout the course of the show. If you're listening on the radio or on the Mothership's app, we do have a CRN live on YouTube, which gives you a video aspect, which gives you the pictures that Matt was talking about just a couple of moments ago. And we've got a great listener over in Greece, Athena, who loves to run down every year a whole bunch of the series that we don't cover that are also in action this weekend, and it's quite the list today, as it usually is. So, yeah, there's a lot of racing around. It's pretty cool stuff. Tell you what, since we're at that time, we're actually a little late. We're going to take break number 1. And when we come back, we said this before, and if you're a longtime listener to the show, you know this. At the behest and request of producer John, take the biggest news story of the week, regardless of series, and put it first. Biggest news story of the week has to be the whole Red Bull investigating their team principal Christian Horner and his actions. Have they come to a resolution? We'll talk about it when we come back.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
The Peerless Saloon and Grill in downtown Anniston, Alabama's oldest saloon, is the place all the locals know. And why wouldn't they? Since we've opened in 1899, lots of things have changed, but we kept the important stuff the same. We take care of our customers and we provide a warm atmosphere for lunch or dinner with friends and family. Follow us on Facebook for food and drink specials at the Peerless Saloon and Grill. The Peerless Saloon and Grill in downtown Anniston, unequaled and unrivaled by definition.
Today's economy, small businesses and consumers thrive in strong relationships. That's where First Bank of Alabama fits into your financial solution. Our products and services give you the tools you need for your financial success. We're a click away if you're looking for the online relationship Just visit us at www.fbal.bank. Or, if you prefer in person, come visit one of our 12 locations throughout Calhoun, Clay, Cleburne, Randolph, Chilton, and Talladega counties. We look forward to seeing you however you prefer to bank. First Bank of Alabama, where you are first.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Tony Sarah Ford in Sylacauga has 1.9% financing for 72 months, plus up to $9,000 off new Ford F-150s in stock. Immediate delivery. 1.9% financing for 72 months, plus up to $9,000 off new Ford F-150s in stock. Huge savings. And now is the time to get the Ford F-150 you've been dreaming at 1.9% financing for 72 months, plus up to $9,000 off new Ford F-150s in stock at Tony Sarah Ford in Sylacauga and online at TonySarahFord.com.
Inspired by the bold bison, Southern Union students blaze new trails every single day. They press forward knowing their SU education will lead them to success. Affordable, accessible, and locally unparalleled. Whether you're transitioning to a university or launching straight into a lucrative career, a degree from SU SDC can help you blaze your path. 3 locations, dedicated faculty and staff, endless possibilities. It's all waiting for you at Southern Union. It's time to venture forward. Register today.
From now through Saturday, it's the Friends and Family Sale at Sunny King Ford. Get up to 10% off on new 2023 Ford Escape, Expedition, Explorer, and F-150. Plus, no payment for 90 days on all new Ford vehicles. And it's truck month. Financing available as low as 1.9%.
Appreciate you checking us out. By the way, again, we said this before. Race is going to start in Formula One here in a little over 30 minutes from right now. And for those of you that are out on the road that are listening, hello. I thought I hit that. Apparently I did not. For those of you that are listening on the radio, maybe you got Sirius XM satellite radio at 10 o'clock Central Time when we go off the air. Channel 81. You can listen to the Formula One race, the end of it.
Yeah, they've got it go. It shows to go live at 9, like you said, a little over 30 minutes. It'll be live on Channel 81 for Sirius XM from Bahrain.
Yeah, cool stuff. All right, speaking of Formula One, Red Bull has completed their internal investigation into the actions of team principal Christian Horner, and the team has cleared him of any misconduct. And you might say, well, that was a fait accompli. Well, hang on. Because it wasn't the race team that actually did the investigation. The investigation was performed by the parent company, Red Bull. Okay? They were in charge of it, not the team itself. The team had to basically get the heck out of the way and let others that were a little less biased cover everything. The official statement from Red Bull, the company, not the race team, said this, quote, "The independent investigation into the allegations made against Mr. Horner is complete. Red Bull can confirm that the grievance has been dismissed. The complainant has a right of appeal. Red Bull is confident that the investigation has been fair, rigorous, and impartial. The investigation report is confidential, contains the private information of the parties and third parties who assisted in the investigation, and therefore will not be commenting further out of respect for all concerned. Red Bull will continue striving to meet the highest of workplace standards." Now think about this. Horner's been in charge of Red Bull's Formula One team since the company bought into the series way back in 2005, so almost 20 years now. He attended preseason testing in Bahrain. We talked about that on last week's show. Stated on Tuesday before the decision clearing him came down that he intended to be in Bahrain this weekend, and he is. But here's the extra little twist, because there always is, isn't there?
A little bit.
The day after he was cleared, Wednesday, The files that were reportedly related to the investigation somehow made it out into everybody's hands. Several news outlets saying that files were emailed to about 200 regulars that are in the F1 paddock. That includes executives with Liberty Media, executives with Formula One, people in the FIA, the governing body, and the team principals from the 9 teams other than Red Bull, along with several media outlets, which included the American media, such as ESPN and the Associated Press. Now, the veracity of these files, in other words, nobody's verified if these things are actually the authentic files or whether this is, what was that 70s, early 80s deal, the Hitler diaries. Mm-hmm. This could be a complete fake. We don't know.
Or even AI generated.
Well, yeah, that's true too. Hey, ChatGPT, anybody?
Where that junk's going nowadays.
The release of those files, verified or not, did prompt a meeting between Christian Horner and officials with the FIA and Formula One on Friday, yesterday, as we air live here on CRN. After the meeting, details of which were not discussed, Horner dismissed the finals as quote-unquote anonymous speculation. Now, we were not one of the media groups that got those files. No, ESPN, and the AP, neither one of them have put word one of these files out there because, again, and this is the right thing to do, they have not authenticated them as being truthful, the actual files.
You mean to tell me ESPN's actually doing something right?
Yeah, it's called journalism, true journalism, instead of being the first out there just throwing something out there and then coming back later and going, oh, sorry, yeah, we got that wrong. Sorry. Oops. Excuse me. Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. This is a hot potato. And I get it. You want to go through all these files, you want to go through the situation, and you want to find out what brought about this investigation, what brought about the hoopla. But if you can't verify that these files are authentic and actually the investigative files, you don't go anywhere with it.
Nope.
Because you open yourself up wide for a lawsuit. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't blame anybody who did sue in this particular case.
Right.
Because this is a very, very delicate matter.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So at this point in time, until the FIA, Formula One, Liberty Media, and or Red Bull say differently, Christian Horner is cleared, and he's at the track.
And probably will be for all year.
More than likely. But I will say this as well. Because the longer somebody is in power at one particular place, the more they tend to get a little bit of ego coming into the whole thing. Mm-hmm. You know, the longer you're there and you're in power, the more you begin to believe, you know what, whatever I do, I can do. And I love the man. I've never met him, but I love the man for what he has done for the team that both Matt and I root for. And we're talking about head coach Bill Belichick. But Bill Belichick from 2000 to 2023, that's a long time to be in charge and to be allowed to do things your own way and get away with it. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden we've got everybody coming out of the woodwork saying, well, things weren't all that peachy now that Bill Belichick's no longer in that building. Now, a lot of that could be sour grapes.
Probably.
Asante Samuel.
Probably.
But there's a whole lot of smoke here. Somewhere there's a little bit of a flame.
Yep.
Over the course of 2+ decades, or almost 2 decades in the case of Christian Horner, somewhere, somebody down the line's gonna get their feathers rubbed the wrong way. It's just the way it is.
Welcome to today's culture.
Yeah.
Which is pathetic.
Yeah. But it's true in any case. Mm-hmm. Okay? I mean, I'll take my dad, for example. I've said this on many occasions. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts. We moved away from there when I was 5 because my dad got transferred out of the VA Medical Center in Jamaica Plain in the Boston area to Birmingham. That was 1973. Dad stayed at the VA Medical Center in Birmingham until 1993. That's over 20 years. And again, people come, people go. It's typical of any place. Some people get promoted. Some people get transferred out because they have a promotion ability, whatever it is. But my dad admitted that there were a couple of people that he felt like he could have handled better over the course of his time as being the manager of the computer operating group of the Birmingham VA Medical Center. Mm-hmm. Everybody does it. Everybody gets on somebody's nerves somewhere, sometime down the line, even if it's just a temporary.
It happens.
So, no, I'm not surprised that Christian Horner had these allegations come against him. Not at all. Mm-hmm. But we'll take everybody at their word, again, for now, and say he's cleared. As for the drivers of Red Bull, Max Verstappen, the three-time defending F1 champion, he took time on Wednesday to talk about this sport that he's currently dominating, said that he feels that the 24 races that are slated for this season is, quote-unquote, way over the limit. All of 26 years old, Verstappen is the odds-on favorite to claim a fourth straight title. He was talking in a pre-weekend press conference on Wednesday and told media when he got to Bahrain, quote, "From my side, I've said it before, this is not sustainable. I love racing a lot. I do it a lot outside of Formula One, but if people in the sport start shortening their careers because it's too much, I think that's a shame, and so hopefully, of course, we can have a look at that in the future." Now, there's that old saying of strike while the iron's hot. There's a little argument, very little argument, that Formula One, more than likely, is probably the hottest motorsport series on the planet right now. You think about it. The continued success of the Netflix series Formula One Drive to Survive. Commercial rights holders Liberty Media are adding races ever since they grabbed the series away from Bernie Ecclestone, 5 years ago now? Mm-hmm. And they've been adding races. The intent was always to get to 24, which they have scheduled before, but in circumstances, stupid COVID, it led to some cancellations. We're looking at you, China. So last year, instead of the planned 24, we actually got 22. But this year, pending China, the slate's back up to 24, and that is the plan heading into this weekend season opener. To help kind of ease some of that stress of the traveling all around the world, if you look at the schedule as a whole and you start mapping it all out using a globe, these are all kind of set up in geographical pods.
Which makes sense.
It does. Makes a lot of sense because the amount of travel, I mean, you still got those guys who are going to go back home to the home office. But there are some people who can just stick with it and stay with the cars and go from one track to the next. Mm-hmm. And it cuts down on the travel costs a lot until you start going, well, we've got that trip to go to Miami later on in the year, but they didn't pair it up with the Canada race, so you're going to come over to North America for one race in Miami, then go back over to Europe, and then you're going to come back over to North America for the Canadian race, and then you're going to go back overseas. You could still do that better.
Yeah.
But by and large, this year's schedule makes a heck of a lot more sense than previous years have.
For sure.
And teams are rotating personnel to give those who do travel to all the races some downtime as well. And it does kind of appear like Max Verstappen's got some people in the paddock that agree with him. Fernando Alonso, who's now 42, said he kind of agrees with Verstappen, quote, "When I started, we had 16 races. Then it was 18 at some point. And then I think when Liberty came in, it was like a message that we have 21 season. That was absolutely the limit. 20 races. Now we're up to 24. This is not sustainable for the future. Even the world champion thinks it's a little long the season. Imagine for the rest of us. We go to races in the second half for nothing. There's no incentive to fight for anything. Especially in a year like last year.
Yeah.
When Red Bull in the Constructors' Cup literally lapped the field. Most of the drivers that got to talking about it echoed it. 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton said, quote, "I think we're at the limit already, maybe over it. But I think we just have to be conscious of quality versus quantity." The driver that Hamilton set to replace at Ferrari, Carlos Sainz, worries that the series might be getting a little bit watered down with so many races. But here's the thing. Liberty Media is going out there. They're trying to give the fans the show that they want.
True.
Again,
the overpriced show that they want.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But if you're still, if 400,000 plus people are going to COTA, it's overpriced to us, but it's what the market apparently will bear. So they get away with it.
True.
And the ratings are good. I mean, we've said this before here in the United States of America. Yes, the Cup Series is the king of television ratings. Okay, look at what they did in Atlanta. I mean, we talk about the Daytona 500 being the biggest ratings getter of the year for the Cup Series, and it is.
Atlanta wasn't that terribly far off of it.
Atlanta was only 2 million less because you remember Daytona 500 was delayed a day into Monday because of rain. And still 6.5 to 7 million, about 7 million people watched.
At 3 o'clock on a Monday.
At 3 o'clock on a Monday. The Atlanta race at least ran on the day it was scheduled under beautiful conditions, and it was a fantastic race. 4.5 million plus people watched. When was the last time 4.5 million people watched an Atlanta race in the regular season?
It's been a while.
Quite a while.
Quite a while.
And this was race 2 of the year. But Formula One and Indycar tend to fight for second highest television motorsports rankings in the United States. Depending on the race. Indy 500, we set it aside. It's that special race that always gets 5 to 6 and even more million viewers. I'm talking about your average race, your season opening race in St. Petersburg. It's going to get you 1.5 million. I'll split the difference. Between 1.25 and 1.75 million people will watch IndyCar when they open up the season at St. Petersburg. The average Formula One race will get about the same viewership, sometimes a little bit more, especially if it's here in the United States and airs at a time that is a little more, amenable to us here in the United States.
Reasonable. Yep.
Yeah. And again, I'm only going by U.S. numbers. I'm not telling you Canada's numbers, Mexico's numbers, Britain's numbers, Spain's numbers, Russia's numbers, China's numbers, Australia's numbers, or any other country's numbers. I only know the numbers here. And I'm telling you, they're fighting for second amongst all motorsport series on television in the United States. And we in the United States, we're a little different from the rest of the world. The rest of the world loves what we call soccer. It's the number one sport in the world. Here, it's like 10th. Amongst motorsport series all around the world, Formula One is far and away the top dog. Here, it's second or third. But as I've said before, what are we? The biggest sports market on the planet. We, as a general rule, take in more sports in the United States than any other country does. It's a pretty good barometer of how popular Formula One is. And it's only getting more popular. Incrementally, those numbers continue to go up. ESPN reports incremental increases year over year from every year that they have grabbed the F1 rights and have grabbed Sky Sports' coverage and have aired it live. They have noted numbers going up generally year over year, every year of their coverage. We like Formula One here. And Liberty Media notes that. And it's not just based on the U.S. numbers. It's based upon the numbers of people that are attending all the races and watching all the races all the way around the world. And they know that the people will watch 24 races. So I've said this before. I'll say it again. And you being the racer on this particular show, you know this better than even I do. If you're getting burned out at 26 from racing 24 times over a 52-week year, somewhere
in the, I don't know if he lives in the United States still or if he lives back in his home country. Well, let's just say he lives in his home country. Somewhere in the city of Bogota, Colombia, Juan Montoya is going, I would like a word with you guys.
We'll play. There are more drivers that want your seat and would be more than willing to race those 24 races a year than there are those who are going 24 races. It's too much.
Crazy.
Formula One has 20 seats available and a heck of a lot more than 20 people who want one of those seats. So Max, You don't like it? Pack your bags. Somebody will be happy to take your seat.
I've got a Team Red Bull hat at my house.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, just be the facts.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. Championship Racing Network.
A couple of other notes here in Formula One. DHL, one of the world's largest logistics companies, kind of along the lines of, say, a FedEx or UPS, signed a multi-year extension of their partnership with F1. Marks the beginning of the second decade of partnership between the two, one of the longest-standing F1 partnerships as a whole. As part of the extension, DHL will remain the title sponsor of the fastest lap and fastest pit stop of the race awards as well. There's Mick Schumacher, who drove 2 seasons for Haas F1, but he didn't impress, and admittedly a less than impressive ride from Haas F1 those 2 years. So he was let go. He did latch on with Mercedes as a reserve driver for the 2023 season. He remains in that role this year, but he's also latched on with Alpine to run their A424 hypercar in the World Endurance Challenge Series this year. So it led to some speculation on some people's parts. Speculation as to whether or not this might lead to an F1 test for Schumacher in an Alpine ride. Alpine's team principal Bruno Famine, quick to stop that rumor, stated that the contract between Schumacher and Alpine is for sports cars only. It's funny, though. Wasn't it about this time last year that we were hearing a lot about how the contract between Red Bull and Daniel Ricciardo was for Red Bull only? What's that team he's driving for now? Oh, that's right. That's the other team under the Red Bull banner.
Yep.
So does that contract really mean anything? Or does at some point in time could Bruno Famine call up Toto Wolff over at Mercedes and say, hey, just for funsies, what do you say we give him a little extra F1 experience? Can we put him in an Alpine car for a test? Or for that matter, what's stopping Toto Wolff from contacting Bruno Famine and going, hey, do me a favor, put him in one of your cars. Let's see how he does.
I would say.
Is it likely? No. Is it possible?
Anything's possible. I would say if he doesn't get a legitimate shot to take over Hamilton's seat, he's probably going to be, hey, Bruno.
Yeah.
Buy me out here.
Yeah. How much time do I have left on my contract with Mercedes?
Mm-hmm.
Then there's also this, and I found this kind of a fun little exercise. There's video of this, by the way. If you go to Formula1.com, you can look this up. Because there's an AI video that was made out of this, okay? Sky Sports, British broadcaster that provides an international feed for many other countries to pick up. And as I mentioned, that includes the United States because ESPN uses Sky Sports for their F1 coverage. But they polled fans recently and asked them to help them create the ultimate Formula One course out of all the existing courses on the Formula One schedule. The front straight comes straight out of COTA. You're going to do that uphill climb into the sharp hairpin left-handed turn number 1. From there, you drive down into Monza's Parabolica. From there, you go to Imola with the Acqua Minerali. Sorry, I almost got that wrong. Then you're going to do the swimming pool turn at Monaco, followed by the Grand Hotel hairpin from Monaco. Then you got a couple of turns from Spa Eau Rouge and the Kemmel Straight. Then you go to Baku's Castle section. That'll be followed by Britain's Silverstone Beckett's Chapel Curve, and then through the Monaco Tunnel. Then you got the S's at Suzuka in Japan, the Brabham and Jones Corner combo from Melbourne in Australia. That leads to a pair of Brazil's Interlagos turns, the Senna S, followed by that course's turn 14 up onto the front straight, and then you would go back to COTA, right? Again, you can see the mock-up video right now. You can either go on to Formula1.com and look up the story of Ultimate F1 Course, or go to SkySports.com and do the same search. I watched the video. It's actually pretty cool. Again, it's a mock-up, but it's actually pretty cool to look at. By the way, the fans also voted for the most famous track landmark. 2 of them stuck out. They tied at 48% of voters each, noting the Ferris wheel at Suzuka and COTA's observation tower. COTA's making a mark.
COTA's climbing.
I love it. It's good stuff.
Yep.
And then the first picture of, not a whole lot of pictures today, but the first picture that you'll see on CRN Live on YouTube, thanks to EA Sports for a quick look at what is kind of a mock-up game cover for EA Sports' new Formula One video game to be entitled, creatively, F1 24. The game, noting that players that currently have F1 23 can take their progress from that game and bring it forward into F1 24. You can now pre-order this game. Plus, if you own any of the EA Sports F1 titles, going back to the 2021 edition, you can get a 15% discount for pre-ordering this particular version of the game. Those who do will also get 3 days earlier access than those who don't, who, by the way, can buy the game officially on May the 28th. Full details on the game were not revealed. We really don't know what the upgrades over the F1 2023 or F1 23 are yet, but I'm sure we'll find. EA Sports is promising those full details to come soon. So we'll have to see. I don't have the money yet to get a PlayStation 5. That's my platform of choice.
I'm going to stick to iRacing and be done with it.
Yeah. That's my platform of choice because I love the game Gran Turismo. Okay. But here's the thing. I've priced, and they're still not coming down. The lowest price I can find on any PlayStation 5 is $449. I have a hard time justifying to myself, much less my wife, spending $450 to go buy a game system where I really only have interest right now in 2 games.
Now, Steve, I can hear Karen saying it now.
Yeah.
Now, Steve.
You have the chance to go to a whole lot of races, or you can go buy a PlayStation and 2 games. I think I'll go to the races. It's just a personal opinion.
Yeah.
Somewhere my wife is going, thank God.
I think I'll go too.
Yeah. And then there's, we haven't really talked about it that much, but the FAA's new all-female series, the F1 Academy, has a new title sponsor. It's Tommy Hilfiger. Okay. As part of the deal, the company's going to get to design one of the 5 designated liveries. We call that paint schemes here in the United States. That's going to be used in the series this year. Hilfiger is also going to be represented by Spanish driver Nerea Marti, who's back for the 2nd season in a row. She finished 4th in the 1st season of the fledgling series, got a win with 5 podium finishes and a pole. Hilfiger, since launching back in 1985, has been positioning itself as a leader in premium clothing brands, long been collaborating with art, music, fashion, and sports. Hilfiger's role is to assist the FIA series in raising the profile of it, said to be on the same level, give or take, as Formula 4. Now remember, the W Series, which the FIA, for whatever kind of moronic reason, decided not to become the sanctioning body of, they were on the level of Formula 3.
They were.
So, for me, we'll pay a whole lot more attention to this series when they rise up to become more the equivalent of F3/F2 than what they are now.
I agree. And I'm going to be interested to see how Susie Wolf runs this series.
Yeah.
With her being the managing director of the series.
She's the one on the hot seat here.
Yep.
So we'll have to find out exactly how well she's going to do it. Yep. I will say this. In watching Netflix's F1 Drive to Survive this year, she and Danica Patrick were a couple of the commentators that they would flip to. I got to admit, I was pretty impressed by Susie.
Oh, yeah. Same here.
And I was very impressed by Claire Williams, who has been out of the series for a couple of years, obviously, since sold off the team. Mm-hmm. She was very opinionated, and she was very willing to put those opinions out there.
Yep.
So, Danica Patrick, we've seen her in race coverage before. She's not afraid to put it out there. So, no, I wasn't surprised by what she had to come with. She came pretty strong. I was surprised by Claire Williams, probably more so than anybody else.
This right here is probably going to be one of the more off-the-cuff statements I've ever made on this show.
Okay.
And over now 7 years. Don't even feel like 7 years.
That's true.
You start looking and watching and hearing some of the things that Danica Patrick says. If you see her on her social media, some of the things that she does with her podcast, radio stuff, whatever she does.
Sure.
She's getting on that crazy level that Britney Spears is getting on.
Agreed.
She's getting there, and I'm going, huh?
Yeah. I tend to agree. But again, if you just put her in a commentator role
and leave it to that.
Yeah. Which they were able to kind of corral her a little bit in this Netflix series. She was good in that role. Again, I was more impressed with Claire Williams, but that's mainly because I didn't know enough about Claire Williams.
Claire's actually had a dog in the fight.
Yeah. And for her to be as open as she has been and was in those 10 episodes.
Right.
I liked it. I really did. So good job on them, and I hope they bring her back next time. I really do.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll flip our attention over to the Cup Series. We already talked about the third margin in Cup Series history for Daniel Suarez, but there were other marks that were also set. So we'll talk about those. We'll talk about big-time penalties that were handed down as well for 2 different teams. Both of them happened to run Fords, but the penalties were unrelated. So we'll give you details on that as we get ready to go into hour 2.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back.
we talked about the fact that we've got a podcast coming up. We got more details. For those of you that are looking forward to having a midweek version of CRN, we got it.
We do.
I think that this can be picked up on the camera.
It can.
Okay. Do I need to get it closer?
A little bit.
Okay. How about that?
There we go.
Okay. That's the official logo that our producer, John Myers, worked up. The podcast is going to be called Crossed Flags. This is the name that gentleman right over there, our resident racing driver, came up with. And it's very appropriate when you stop and think about it. Why'd you come up with Crossed Flags?
Well, crossed flags signifies halfway point of a race.
Sure.
Or any motorsports event.
Mm-hmm.
And the day that this is going to fall on is the halfway point of the week.
Pretty much.
So, there you are.
This Wednesday, assuming all the technical stuff gets worked out, and we have already seen a preliminary from our on-site producer that is not producer John, by the way. But we've already seen a basic rundown of what it'll kind of look like from the studios. Yeah, we're going to do this Wednesday about 2:30 or so Central Time in the U.S., Athena. And then it'll be posted on Cumulus Media's social media. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. That's my main employer, okay? Because I produce a morning show over there in Birmingham. So it'll be out on that, but we will also make sure to post it on CRN Live on YouTube. So at some point in time, when we can, Wednesday afternoon / evening, you will see on CRN Live on YouTube our new podcast, which starts this Wednesday. Hope you join it.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you join us. And tell your friends about it and tell them to subscribe because they're not going to want to miss it. Because this isn't just going to be kind of, hey, let's take some of the subject material that we talked about last Saturday or a preview of the next Saturday's CRN. No, this is going to be a standalone show. There may be some crossover, but this is going to be a standalone show. We're going to have a good time with it.
Yep.
All right, Cup Series news. We noted the slimmest margin of victory in NASCAR history, third slimmest technically for Daniel Suarez, a .00331 thousandths of a second. But Atlanta also saw one other notable Cup Series achievement. We talked about it in the race recap. Michael McDowell claimed the pole position for the race. What you may not have known was that this is Michael McDowell's first career pole position. And that happened to come in his 467th start. That broke the old record of 403 starts before getting a pole. That was set by J.D. McDuffie. Remember him? So congratulations. And you want to talk about a class act. Michael McDowell was. He is a guy that if you meet him or if you just see him or listen to him in interviews on TV or on the radio, you just automatically want to root for the guy.
He's hard to root against.
He really is.
Very hard.
Then there's the other side of that particular spectrum. McDowell's front row mate, at least after initial qualifying at Atlanta, Joey Logano, he had to go to the back of the field before the drop of the green flag, and then he had to serve a pass-through penalty after the drop of the green flag because of an unapproved adjustment to a glove.
Alteration.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it. The gloves are safety equipment. You know this as a driver. Any racer knows this. They have what they call an SFI rating. This is a fire safety rating, for lack of a better term to put it.
The sad part about this whole thing you're about to talk about, this had nothing to do with SFI. That's the bad part about it.
NASCAR is claiming that when the 22 team, somebody on the team, could have been Logano, probably not, could have been somebody else on the team, added some webbing to the glove between the thumb and the forefinger, right in this area, if you're watching on CRN Live, right here. And it allowed Joey Logano to put his hand up against the net, the window net, in an attempt to deflect air from going into the car to maybe gain a couple of tenths.
I would say a maximum of 10th.
Okay.
Yeah, that gains you a lot.
Throwing out there the big question mark of how much that might gain you, but this shows you how much they're trying to do everything they can to gain just a little bit.
Yeah, if that's going to gain me that much time, I will wear the platypus gloves all day.
Sure. But they said that by sewing in the webbing into the glove, it hurt the SFI rating of the glove the way it was manufactured, and they penalized him. Now, the pass-through would have put the 22 at least a lap down if things have stayed green, but he got really, really lucky, and a multi-car crash kept that from happening. But as for the rule, NASCAR cited Rule 14.3.1.1 requiring all gloves meet SFI specification, but with the webbing, again, which was an addition to hopefully allow for less air to get in the car for qualifying, lowered the rating below NASCAR ideals. Now, you can kind of see something of an action shot there, so we don't have a great picture of it because the hand is kind of blurry. But if you look at him, you can tell because you got the sponsor stickers that are on the inside of the door in the background, and that whole glove with the webbing covers that up. So, yeah, there's webbing in between the thumb and the forefinger. Here's the thing. How many times have we said this on this show? What do you read the rule book for? You don't read the rule book for what is in there. You read it for what's not.
What's not in there. Yep. What's not in there.
They thought they found a loophole, and NASCAR said, nah, we're not going to allow that loophole.
Well, that right there, what they did could alter or hamper the safety aspects of said piece of equipment, whether it be the helmet sock, the suit, gloves, the shoes, all the way down to your socks.
Mm-hmm.
If you alter that, that could compromise the safety aspect of what the SFI rating for that specific piece of equipment is. It could do that. So say, let's knock on wood here.
All right.
Let's say the 22 car blew a right front tire, plowed the wall down, oil cooler busted.
Yeah, you get oil in the engine block.
Oil, and just the car erupts in fire.
Yeah.
Okay. His hands catch some of said fire. Well, wherever some of that stitching may be, could alter that specific part. So therefore, he's at risk of getting severe burns on his hand, i.e. Jordan Anderson at Talladega.
Sure.
He's at that risk. That's too much of a risk to take.
But at some point in time, don't you kind of look at this and go, are we being a little bit overly nitpicky?
When it comes to that, I'm going to say no.
Okay. Then there was this. And here's something that we really don't know all the details of. But we'll have a picture of this up on CRN Live on YouTube. And thanks to NASCAR.com for this particular picture. When they dropped the hammer on Wednesday, after fining Logano $10,000 for the unapproved changes to that glove, the other penalty came down to 2 of the 4 Stewart-Haas racing cars. The 41 of Ryan Preece, the 10 of Noah Gragson. During pre-race qualifying inspection, NASCAR didn't like them. They removed and confiscated the roof rails of those 2 cars and then handed down this big penalty, docking both cars 35 owner points each, and each driver has been docked 35 championship points. Now, if you realize something here, we're only 2 races into the year. This is a big hit. Strangely enough, no monetary fine was attached, but the points penalty drops them to 35th and 36th, respectively, in points amongst the chartered teams. And overall, Preece sits 37th in the standings at 0 points, while Gragson's sitting there with -6 points and places him dead last amongst all the drivers who have gotten into one of the 2 races so far this year. That makes him 43rd. Now, in announcing the penalty on SiriusXM Satellite Radio's NASCAR channel, NASCAR's VP of Competition, Elton Sawyer, said of these roof rails, quote, "It's a team part. In other words, it's not supplied by NASCAR. The team builds it, the team puts it on. But it has to meet a CAD or a pre-approved drawing from NASCAR. And in this case, it didn't meet that." He cited Rule 14.5.6.1.a.
Divided by 3, carry the 7.
Exactly, squared. Which details air deflectors and also states that the part must be made of 0.05-inch thick aluminum, must be painted, where it must be installed, and that it must not interfere with the function of the roof flaps. Now, other than what it's made of, that it has to be painted, where it has to be installed, and that it must not interfere with the function of the roof flaps, that leaves a whole lot of ground that you could potentially cover.
Quite a bit. If I had to guess, they probably were made out of the incorrect material.
That's gotta be.
It's gotta be that, because, and if it comes down to where the thickness of the material was within an absolute eyelash, that's a little bit picky. You gotta have clear tolerances.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, even when it comes to the speed limit on pit road, you got a 4.99999 to infinity mile per hour grace zone.
Yep.
You know, you say 0.05 inches thick. If it happens to be 0.0499, is that really the worst thing in the world? I mean, I get it. If it's 0.01, yeah.
Big difference.
Obviously, you're well in violation. But if it's 0.0499, who cares?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
No word on whether Stewart Haas Racing is going to appeal.
They are not going to appeal. I saw that yesterday.
You did see that yesterday. Okay, good. And, you know, we've heard this from Tony Stewart before. What's the sense in appealing? Because as a general rule, nobody wins it unless you happen to have HMS by your name. But that's another story.
Yeah.
NY Racing, after all but disappearing in 2023, came out of nowhere and attempted to qualify for the Daytona 500. They didn't make the race, but they're back for this weekend in Las Vegas. J.J. Yaley again behind the wheel of number 44 Chevrolet Camaro, this time featuring sponsorship from the Urban Youth Racing School. Their edition makes 37 total entries, so yeah, they're going to actually get into the race for tomorrow, regardless of where they qualify. Richard Childress Racing has announced quickly the very first crew change of the season, announced that they have replaced Josh Sobecki as the jackman of the number 8 Chevrolet Camaro of Kyle Busch, replacing him with Garrett Krall. He was the jackman for the car last week in Atlanta and apparently will be for the remainder of the 2024 season. Now, we have heard where Kyle Busch got really upset with the pit crew after a really, I want to say at least one, maybe two bad visits down pit road in the Daytona 500. Apparently, that was the beginning of, hey, things aren't right where we want them to be in the RCR 8 pit crew, so let's make a change now. But it does seem awfully quick.
Yeah, to replace the jackman of all people, when all he does is do a one pump drop, you're gone.
Yeah.
Huh. That's weird.
I don't know. Maybe we'll find out more. I doubt it, truth be told.
Yeah.
We noted about a month ago, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was talking on his Dale Jr. podcast, that Dale Jr. download podcast, I should say, that he was without a TV contract for 2024. But he said he and NBC were in talks. And he, at that point in time, said, hey, NBC is my home. Not anymore. He got his television contract, but it happens to be for 2025. Thursday, word came down through the Athletic website. Dale has signed on and will join the combination of Amazon Prime and Warner Brothers Discovery. He will be part of their Cup Series coverage for the 10 races that they do in the middle of the year. But that's not all. Because this new deal, you might remember, has Amazon Prime covering any and all practice sessions for the Cup Series over the course of the first half of the year and all qualifying sessions. And halfway through the year, because you'll get Fox and then it'll go to Amazon Prime, and then from Amazon Prime it'll go to Turner Sports for the televising of the races before it then goes to NBC, right? Well, at that midway point, when practice and qualifying sessions and the races go from Amazon Prime to Turner Sports and to Warner Brothers Discovery, they will take over what Amazon Prime has been doing with qualifying and practice sessions through the rest of 2024. So Dale Jr. actually gets more exposure in 2025 than he got in 2023 when he was really only on NBC.
I don't think this is a bad thing for the sport in general. When you've got the face of your sport on the television every weekend.
Sure.
At the racetrack.
And truth be told, this is a major coup for Amazon Prime and for Warner Brothers Discovery for setting up their TV crews for 2025. This is a massive coup for them to pull that name.
Now, the next step for them needs to be they need to get the biggest and best lead broadcaster that you can get to pair with him.
There's a name that's sitting out there that just shines as bright as the sphere out in Las Vegas to me, and his initials are AB.
I would say either him, or I would even go as far as Vince Welch.
Also a good one.
I would go Vince Welch.
Also a good one. Either Alan Bestwick and or Vince Welch. They'd be good calls, either one of them.
Yep.
The 2024 West Coast Stock Car / Motorsports Hall of Fame class has been announced. It includes a couple of people you've probably heard of. You ever hear of a 7-time Cup Series champion by the name of Jimmy Johnson?
No, never heard of him.
Oh, okay. He's going in. Some of the others going in: Jimmy Vasser, 10-time Kart Series race winner turned racing team owner. Former NASCAR team owner Cal Wells III, who is right now the CEO of Legacy MC. And then there's a guy by the name of Eric Holmes, who you may not have heard of. Eric Holmes is a 3-time winner in what we now call the ARCA Menards West Series. That class will be officially inducted on June 6th at a celebration in the Turn 11 Club at Sonoma Raceway. Sweet. Congratulations to them.
Yep, good for them.
But unfortunately, we have to back that up with some sad news, the passing of Greg Moore. We got a picture of Greg, a fairly recent one here. The last name might ring more bells than the first name because, indeed, Greg, the son of Bud Moore, legendary NASCAR Cup Series team owner. The younger Moore worked for his father on the team for most of his adult life as an engine specialist for most of that team's successful run, which did include, by the way, back-to-back titles in what we would now call the Cup Series, back before it was known as that in 1962 and 1963. Bud Moore sold the team off in 1999 to the Fenley family, retaining the services of Bud, Greg, and Greg's brother Darrell as consultants for a pretty good portion of that 1999 season. The Fenley family, who were successful in what is now, again, the ARCA Menards West Series, were, however, way in over their financial heads in the Cup Series, and the team shut down by 2001. Greg moved on and began hosting a motorsports radio show. Hey, we know that feeling. And had been suffering, unfortunately, from varying health issues over the past few years. Reports came out on Thursday he passed away, the cause of death not given at the time. Greg Moore was 67 years old. We thank budmore.us for the relatively recent picture that you see of Greg Moore on CRN Live on YouTube. These are the people that paved the way in a lot of ways.
That's an understatement.
For the people that are currently working in any way, shape, or form in NASCAR.
I would say that's an understatement.
So, yeah, Greg Moore, rest in peace. You'll be missed. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family and friends of everybody in the Moore family here. Well, we talked about the pole sitting record, so to speak, that Michael McDowell set. I'm not sure that he's the happiest to be the guy who's waited the longest in his NASCAR Cup Series career before he gets a pole. But you know what? He's got a pole, so he probably doesn't care. The flip side of that is the guy who claimed the pole at Atlanta in the Xfinity Series. We'll detail that when we come back.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
A special announcement from Le Coin des Hôtels.
Michael McDowell got his first pole position in Atlanta. Well, the Xfinity Series pole sitter was Jesse Love. Normally, that wouldn't be a big story, right? Until you realize that Love is, again, a rookie. This actually marks the first time in the 30-some-odd years of Xfinity Series history that a rookie has claimed the pole in the first 2 races of his career in said series. He could not make it 3 in a row. He did not get the pole, as we talked about, for Las Vegas. That goes to Cole Custer.
And I don't even think he was in the same zip code as Cole Custer.
No. Cole was one of 3? I think it was 3. Only 3 drivers in the field that broke 30 seconds. Everybody else was 30 seconds plus.
Yep.
NASCAR said that they are now talking with Xfinity about remaining as the title sponsor of said secondary series. The current deal comes to an end at the end of this year. Marks the 10th year for the Xfinity company to be the series title sponsor. Xfinity's VP of Branding and Activation, Matt Lederer, said that the company is, quote, not looking or not trying to look at what year 11 looks like, but really, how does this become year 1 of a new deal? Hopefully it doesn't go the way of the charter talks with the Cup Series teams. That's dragged out beyond all reality.
What are you talking about?
You know, I don't want to leave them without a sponsor. And in all likelihood, you know, the charter thing is not a major priority to NASCAR. It is to the teams. Okay?
Yep.
But to NASCAR, title sponsorship, that means a lot.
Sure.
So, yeah, this is a priority. This is front burner stuff for NASCAR. Hendrick Motorsports has started dipping back into the Xfinity Series a couple of years ago, ran a couple of races here, a couple of races there, but they really had been largely out of the series for easily a decade, right?
At least.
Well, that trend of them kind of dipping back into the Xfinity Series continues. They announced this week they would be entering the number 17 Chevrolet Camaro in 10 races this coming year, all with primary sponsorship from HendrickCars.com. I know we're shocked by that. The first race, Phoenix, next weekend. That'll be the first of 4 times that William Byron will drive the car. By the way, 9 of the 10 will be featuring Moonlighters from the Cup Series. We'll get back to that.
Shocker.
William Byron will have his lead engineer on his Cup car, Brandon McSwain, to be the crew chief for those 4 races. The other 6 races will be Greg Ives calling all the shots, regardless of what driver's in the car. William Byron set to drive in Darlington May 11th, Pocono July 13th, Watkins Glen September the 14th, in addition to the Phoenix race. Kyle Larson will get 2 starts. No surprise here, Coda's one of them, March 23rd, and then he'll get the start July 6th on the Chicago Street Course. I got to admit, that kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. Chase Elliott will get 2 starts. Surprisingly, neither one of them are a road course. Charlotte, May 25th, Darlington, August 13th. Alex Bowman will get 1 lone start. That'll be June 22nd at New Hampshire. And that leaves out one other announced start. The 10th announced start will be June 8th at Sonoma. They've grabbed the all but retired Boris Said to pilot the car that race. Boris Said will be 61 when he climbs into the 17 Xfinity Series car for that race.
They owe Boris one because of the roller race last year. That was a debacle.
Yeah.
On their end, not Boris's end.
That's true.
Yeah, they owe him one.
Yeah.
But I mean,
and at Sonoma, where that's kind of a home track for Said, who's a West Coast kind of guy. Yeah, that's a good call.
I can remember that not all that terribly long ago. I'm going to say probably 2014, 2015, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you saw a Hendrick Motorsports car with HendrickCars.com on it, you're going, they got problems.
Mm-hmm.
They got problems.
Now they're all over the place.
Now it's just like
they're ubiquitous.
They're loaded.
Yeah, they're ubiquitous. They're all over the place.
Oh yeah.
Joe Gibbs Racing. You've probably seen this car already. The He Gets Us car, the faith-based organization that's been advertising in sports for a few years now. They announced that they have extended their partnership with Joe Gibbs Racing. They'll appear on both Joe Gibbs Racing's Cup and Xfinity Series rides over the course of the 2024 season. They'll be on the 54 Cup car of Ty Gibbs for 10 total races this year, marking the 3rd year that He Gets Us will partner with Joe Gibbs Racing. And in the Xfinity Series, they'll be on the car for Ty Gibbs at Coda and Chicago. And they'll also be on the car when Eric Almirola drives his 8 races. That includes this weekend or later today as we air live at Las Vegas. Almirola said of the partnership, quote, "I'm looking forward to bringing awareness to He Gets Us and how the movement talks about simple concepts and lessons from Jesus like loving your neighbor. From the first time that I learned about He Gets Us, I was very interested and excited about how sports could serve as a conversation starter." It's very appropriate for Joe Gibbs, for Eric Almirola, and for He Gets Us, because those three, they wear, obviously He Gets Us does, but Joe Gibbs does, and Eric Almirola, they wear their faith right out there on their sleeve.
And that's something, this He Gets Us deal, pretty sure it's something that was started by Norm Miller of Interstate Batteries.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
I think it started through him.
Yeah.
And then you see this, I've seen it at University of Alabama. I've seen it through Arkansas. I've seen it at University of South Carolina as well. The branding is throughout the stadiums or the arenas.
Yeah. And for the past couple of years, they've run an ad in the Super Bowl.
They have.
So that's why I say they have put their name out there in sports in a number of ways. So there we go. Got another Cup Xfinity Series split partnership. We got a picture on this one. This one goes to Stewart Haas Racing, a group called Fantik, F-A-N-N-T-I-K. They're an auto accessories company. They're pairing up to sponsor Noah Gragson in the Cup Series and the defending Xfinity Series champion Cole Custer. The company's going to be primary for one race for each driver. They'll be on Gragson's number 10 Cup car this weekend in Vegas. Cole Custer will sport the look on the 00 Xfinity Series car in May at Charlotte. We thank SHR for the look at how the cars are going to appear on the track. As you can see right now on CRN Live on YouTube, these are a couple of good-looking cars. That's the main reason why I put it up there. I just thought that they were good-looking cars.
Yep, they are good-looking.
And then there's this little bit. We got a picture of Bubba Pollard coming up on CRN Live on YouTube, thanks to Bubba's own website, as it turns out. Junior Motorsports set to bring yet another late model ace up into NASCAR for a couple of races this year. They've grabbed Bubba Pollard. He's going to get his Xfinity Series debut next month in the number 88 Chevrolet Camaro. He will have sponsorship from Ream Manufacturing, a longtime sponsor in NASCAR and a longtime partner at Junior Motorsports, as it turns out. Pollard from Sonoya, Georgia, is now 37. And there was a time when that wasn't considered all that old to be a rookie. Now that's pretty old to be a rookie. No disrespect to you, Bubba.
Still got a chance, boys.
He has, think about this, he's got more than 100 wins in late model races during his career to date. That includes prestigious events like the All-America 400 at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. His debut will be March 30th at Richmond Raceway.
I'm pretty sure our resident Midwesterner, Chi-Town Mark, will agree with me on this one. This one could very well be the sneakiest, best move of 2024 in all the top 3 series.
Yeah. If he does, and I'm not going to say he has to win. If he gets top 10, he'll get at least another ride. If he gets top 5, he'll get multiple before the end of this year.
Which is extremely realistic.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Being a short track and these Xfinity cars, I'm pretty sure is close, not on par, but close to the same horsepower level as a super late model. I'm not going to be surprised if he's top 10 or top 5.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be.
And I'm going to say it right now. If he gets top 10, he'll be in at least one more race this year. If he gets top 5, I'm saying he'll get multiple races in the 88 before the end of the year.
He could.
And deservedly so.
He could very well, very, very, very well get additional short track starts.
Yeah. And I think it'd be fantastic. A couple of notes from the truck series here, and after what happened last night, this is not a surprise either. You were just talking about HendrickCars.com. Spire Motorsports has announced that HendrickCars.com has now extended their partnership with them and driver Rajah Caruth. They will be the primary sponsor of the number 71 Chevy Silverado truck for the remainder of the 2024 season. This was announced before last night when Rajah Caruth parked that truck in Victory Lane.
It was. So
HendrickCars.com is going, we made the right call. This expanded, by the way, their preseason announcement. They were going to sponsor the first 10 races of the 2024 season. And again, this all comes after he started the 2024 year with 2 top 10 finishes, 3rd at Daytona, 8th in Atlanta, and now again, the win at Las Vegas. So, yeah.
After that last night and the relationship that he's developing with Rick Hendrick, I'm not going to be surprised to see that 17 car at another race or two with him in
the car. Yeah, I got to admit, I was a little surprised considering the promise that we saw out of him last year at GMS Racing that he wasn't in the Xfinity Series this year. A little surprised.
Well, some chirpings, let's call it that way, that I overheard when I was in the garage area in Mid-Ohio when all this GMS stuff was developing in the early stages of it. It's not that he's tied to an Xfinity team. Chevrolet is backing him. And it's so far, let me stress that, it's proving to be a good move.
Sure.
It's proving to be.
Yeah.
I think it was Chevrolet wanted to give him one more year to season in trucks.
And I don't have a problem with that either.
That's not a bad move at all.
Because here's the thing. You can move somebody up too quick through the ranks and they will be in over their heads.
And then some.
You know, I could point at a couple of drivers that are currently in that situation, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. I think giving Rajah Caruth that little bit more time, and you want to talk about a kid who grew up in a way that is vastly different from the vast majority of the racers that are out there now. This is a Washington, D.C. kid. He didn't get a go-kart at the age of 5 to go out and race with. He got his start on iRacing. And just through sheer, utter determination, worked his way into getting into this top level.
Yeah. I mean, Legends cars. He worked his way up through the Drive for Diversity program, which is so far proving to pay off.
It's hitting on a lot of cylinders here.
For who executes it properly.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
It's paying off for those people.
And for those of you who want to run out there and fly the flag of, oh, he must be playing the race card. Sorry, I'm going to call utter and total Bravo Sierra on that.
You just segued me perfect to that. After no soon as he took the checkered flag last night, to which we've learned here within the past few years, you can take the checkered flag, but until you clear post-race tech, you haven't rightfully earned that win.
True.
Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson, just names in particular of the past recent few years, not even win, but top 5. No soon as he took the flag, yep, take that flag off the pole. Let's run that flag right up the pole of Black African American driver. Let's fly that. Let's just, every single person. Stop it.
Please.
Stop it. I've said it before and I will say it again until I am blue in the face. I don't care if you're male, female, if you're Hispanic, Asian, African American, if you're from the depths of Antarctica to the farthest reaching point in Finland near the North Pole. I don't care if you're Russian, Arabic, whatever.
Can you wheel a race car?
I don't care if you live an alternate lifestyle of if you're heterosexual or homosexual. I don't care. If you can put that helmet on, you flip that starter switch and put it into gear, and you can carry my vehicle that I own to the front and threaten for win, if not win the races. I don't care who you are or what your lifestyle is. You are a driver. A driver won that race last night.
Yeah.
And the kid is doing it, and he's staying quiet. He's putting his helmet on, he's staying quiet, and he's doing his job.
Yeah.
He's doing his job that Spire Motorsports hired him to do. He's doing his job that Rick Hendrick is sponsoring him to do.
Yeah.
Stop flying the flag of this African American, this African American. It should not matter.
No.
It shouldn't matter.
Now, we can all sit here and we can ding Bubba Wallace for maybe being a little over the top in some cases. What we can't ding him for is what happened at Talladega a couple of years ago. I was there for it. Okay? That was right in the middle of the whole COTA thing. I was there. I know what happened at COTA.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, at Talladega.
I was there too.
Okay? Everybody's blaming Bubba Wallace for freaking out over the pull rope on the garage door that looked like a noose. Well, here's the thing. I've seen a picture of said pole. And to those of you who think, oh, this is a whole lot of something out of nothing. Trust me, I've seen the picture. To those who are not really all that well versed in what a noose looks like, it looks pretty much like a noose. Sorry, boys and girls, but it does. Number 2, Bubba Wallace did not report that pull. That was not Bubba. That was a crewman on the 43 car, which he was driving at that time.
And here's the kicker to this. There's a video that had surfaced of a former guest of this show that it got onto CNN, and it was there in 2019.
Okay? Bubba didn't raise the red flag. It was a crew person who did. It was the choice of Talladega Superspeedway, our employers,
Yep.
who said, let's get the full investigation going on. Bubba didn't do this. Bubba's not at fault.
No.
And for all of those of you who are wanting Bubba to get out, I'm sorry, where's Bubba sitting in the points right now?
Pretty high.
He's in the top 5. He ain't getting out.
No.
2311 ain't letting him go. You want to know why? He's performing on the track, whether you like it or not. I didn't care one way or another about Bubba when he came in. He was just another driver to me. But all of this backlash and hoopla over nothing, is actually making me a Bubba fan. Because I want to tweak every single one of those people out there who are complaining about this.
Yeah,
for no purpose whatsoever.
I'm seeing the timer here. This is my final quote on this before we have to take our last break. Everybody talks about and complains about, oh, this sport is racially stereotyped. You know where the racial stereotype's coming from? The media. The media.
Yeah.
They're doing it to themselves.
I agree.
Because when we was in the pathway and on pit road, in the pathway of the garage area and on pit road at Atlanta Motor Speedway last week, last weekend, arguably goes to my most diverse weekend I've seen at a racetrack since I've been 4.
Yeah. You look around and you see that there are
extremely diverse.
There are people that are coming into NASCAR that have never been there before.
Exactly.
And that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
That's called the survival of this sport that we all purport to love. Do you? Do you really?
Then do your job and report something instead of trying to go put yourself on a pedestal. Oh my goodness!
Yeah. And
Whatever.
if you're
Give me a
upset,
break.
and if you're a fan that's upset about the diversity, go find yourself something else to root for. You won't be missed. We got one more bit of Truck Series news, some NASCAR news, NHRA and IndyCar yet to go. Can we get all that in the last segment? We're going to try.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
Get ready to...
Real quick here, Spencer Boyd's fledgling Freedom Racing Enterprises, his new team with Jeff Hammond, continues to sign new sponsors. Good for him, including a renewal by the one that sponsored Boyd previously. It's called NorCal Equipment Rentals. That particular paint scheme was run last night in Las Vegas. That's the one primary that they've got. They'll be an associate sponsor for the remainder of the year. Hopefully this will mean good things for Spencer. Right now, the performance is not there, but, as he gets money and maybe needs to partner up with somebody or affiliate with somebody.
Yeah, for sure, to get more speed out of the truck. No doubt.
So I'm rooting for him. I hope that he's able to get things turned around and starts doing well.
Yep.
Reports out of Napa Valley, California state the repave job at Sonoma Raceway is now complete. It was a little more intense repave because you had to do all versions of the road course to be repaved, plus the drag strip in the middle was also being done. This marks the first full repave in 23 years of that particular course. The work began just after Christmas. Crews milled down the old surface, then a grinding down to ensure even a smoother repave. They then repaired all the cracks before laying down the new asphalt, which is said to be a long-lasting formula. In all, from the first day of work to the last day, which was Wednesday, 61 days.
Pretty quick.
That's going at it right there.
Yep.
Racer turned NASCAR television commentator Kyle Petty has announced the route that the latest edition of the Kyle Petty charity ride will take. Route, whatever. The ride will begin May the 4th. It'll run through May 10th. It'll go through 9 states, covering about 2,100 miles, and start in Deadwood, South Dakota. They'll head down to Nebraska before over to Iowa and then Indianapolis. From Indy, they'll head down to Bowling Green, Kentucky, over to Bristol, Tennessee, before they end the ride on a run from Bristol to Greensboro, North Carolina. It's expected that between 175 and 200 riders are going to be taking part in portions, if not all of the ride, that's meant to raise awareness for money, raise awareness and money for the Victory Junction Gang Camp that the Pettys have named in honor of their late son, Adam. The names that are already committed: NASCAR Hall of Famers Richard Petty and Herschel McGriff, former NASCAR drivers Max Pappas, David Reagan, Ken Schrader, and Kenny Wallace, former NFL great and Heisman Trophy winner Herschel Walker, and television personalities Rick Allen and Rutledge Wood. The ride will feature stops at Mount Rushmore, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Churchill Downs, home of the Kentucky Derby horse race, the National Corvette Museum, Bristol Motor Speedway, plus some other stops along the ride. It's going to be pretty cool. I like it.
Sounds like they're going to be running I-65.
Maybe a small portion.
A little.
Or maybe Highway 31, which mirrors it, just to make sure that they're not interfering too much with I-65.
True.
2010 NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle Champion Ellie Tonglet. He's largely been out of NHRA competition for quite a few years now. He's planning on a comeback of sorts. In a lease deal with Vance & Hines Racing, he's set to compete on a Suzuki Hayabusa motorcycle, sponsorship coming from longtime partner of his, Kenny Koretsky Properties. This includes Maple Grove Raceway, Nitro Fish Apparel, and KPK Development. Now, Tonglet's been largely back at his home in Metairie, Louisiana, where he's a full-time firefighter. He's made occasional runs. He made one last year at Pomona. He said this, quote, "I rode Fred Camarina's bike, and that led to some discussions between Kenny and I. Vance and Hines' team then got involved, and then things just sort of fell into place. It's a brand new bike, which I've never had before, and I can't wait to ride it. Also marks the debut of the new Vance and Hines customer lease program, and now we've got ourselves a fairly interesting battle. All Suzuki battle coming between Tonglet, who's long been considered one of the most talented riders that this division in the NHRA has ever seen, and one Gage Herrera, who was Max Verstappen on steroids last year. If you remember, Herrera dominated the Pro Stock Motorcycle division last year. He won all but one event. That's better than what Max Verstappen did in Formula One.
Yep.
Tonglet said he thinks 10 to 12 races this season is probably a realistic number of events for him, and it will start at Gainesville at the Gator Nationals. Then came down this news. This was out of left field. Another Pro Stock motorcycle operation, White Alligator Racing, has got themselves all of a sudden a brand new owner. Veteran NHRA tuner Tim Kalungian brings in Ready Parts, and that's an Alabama-based company, as his first primary sponsor. The team will have a brand new owner, but they will retain 2023 Rookie of the Year Chase Van Zandt and Chris Bostic. They will continue to field Suzuki Hayabusa rides for the pair as well. No word whether they're leasing them from Vance and Hines, but in all likelihood, they probably are. One of Tony Stewart's Cup Series sponsors, Mahindra, is set to join his drag racing company. That's right. The tractor company based out of Texas will sponsor his Top Fuel ride for 2 events this year. The race is not named at this time. The company will be highlighting their new line of OJA-powered subcompact and compact tractors, claiming its most ambitious that this tractor release is their most ambitious in company history. So I guess they're going to throw this out there on the Cup Series team as well. And God only knows what else in Tony Stewart's racing.
Yeah, no kidding.
And then a 19-year-old kid by the name of Cody Crone is going to get a chance to run several Nitro Top Fuel races this coming season. He's going to pair up his own CK racing operation with Peyton Racing. He made one event last year in St. Louis when he ran Larry Dixon's Top Fueler. He's an NHRA member. He's been running in the A Fuel division for the most part. But at this time, they have their eyes on about 6 events. Pending performance, they state it could expand out. His exact schedule has not been released at this time. And one more note here, and this is a cool thing. When the Mission Foods Drag Racing Series heads to Chicago's Route 66 Raceway the weekend of May 17th through the 19th, they're going to set up a special tent area. This is Don Schumacher's home track, and there's going to be a special celebration of life for Schumacher, who passed away December 20th of last year because of cancer. Cancer sucks. Mm-hmm. Schumacher obviously will be remembered for numerous honors and achievements over the course of a very long career at that special tent at that track, where fans are welcome to join in and take part in an autograph session on Friday, May 17th. It will feature many of the drivers who were part of Don Schumacher Racing during its storied history. That is really, really cool.
Very cool.
And then we turn our attention over to the IndyCar Series, and with only one more week to go before the NTT IndyCar Series kicks off their 2024 season, preseason testing got rolling in Sebring, Florida. Notably, Dale Coyne Racing, which is set to enter 2 cars into the series this year, still had no official drivers as testing began, but they did announce that they were going to bring in IndyCar veteran Jack Harvey to test alongside sports car champion Colin Braun. Will either or both actually get either ride? Only time and testing will tell. But here's the thing, if testing is something to be said about it, maybe not. Day 1 was on Monday. Defending series champion Alex Palou put himself on the top of the speed chart, turned a fastest lap of the day around the course at 52.0883 seconds. 15 drivers in all turned laps on day 1. Palou led Christian Lundgaard and Joseph Newgarden, both within about 5/100ths of Palou's time. The slowest time of the day, the aforementioned Jack Harvey, 53.0776 seconds. Now that is less than a second slower. So the gap between 1 and 15 being less than a second, it's not horrible.
No.
But still, you're at the bottom of the speed chart. And being at the bottom of the speed chart might be a problem. Day 2 on Tuesday, things switched up a little bit. Marcus Ericsson vaulted to the top of the speed chart, and he turned a fast time of the day at 51.9512 seconds. Yeah, they go into the 10,000ths of a second here. He was the only driver, by the way, in either day to drop into the 51-second range. Will Power, second quick at 52.0076 seconds. A dozen cars tested on Tuesday, so all 27 cars got tested. Slowest time of those 2 days was the Jack Harvey time that was set on Monday. His Dale Coyne Racing testing mate anyway, Colin Braun, he was second slowest.
Something that I caught on an image that I seen from Sebring, that it was of Marcus Ericsson.
Okay.
Marcus Ericsson now drives for Andretti.
Mm-hmm.
Had on a fire suit and was sponsored by Delaware Life.
Interesting to note.
You know who else Delaware Life has already been on this year? That would be a Spire Cup car.
It's amazing how these things all get kind of connected, isn't it?
Almighty, I'm good.
Pato O'Ward has signed himself a new contract, a 2-year extension to his deal with Arrow McLaren Racing. This came out of left field because, guess what? He was actually already under contract through next year. That's right. The current contract that he had went through the 2025 season, but they want to keep him around. So Friday, it was announced the 2-year extension. The Indianapolis Star newspaper said that the deal was worth $10.2 million total. That's not bad. $5.1 million a year for driving a race car. I can do it.
I'd take it in a heartbeat.
Mexican native is going into his 5th year of IndyCar racing this year and doing quite nicely. Since 2013, IndyCar has been using the Chevrolet and Honda engines in their current form, a 2.2-liter twin turbocharged V6 format. Of course, this year, sometime after the Indy 500, they'll add that hybrid factor into it, but the basic engine layout is still going to be the same. In fact, the last time that we have been outside of this format and have had more than just Chevrolet and Honda was 2012, when it was still a 2.2-liter twin-turbo V6. Lotus came in.
Lotus left.
And then Lotus left because, well, let's just say it was reliability issues. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
The current engine contract with these two car companies goes through 2026. Indycar wants to get a head start on renewing with Chevrolet and Honda, while also opening things up to potential new engine suppliers, because the full-time entry list over the course of the last few years has ballooned up to 27 full-time cars. So when talking to the Indy 500, you're talking 35 easy, maybe 36, 37, depending on what happens. And to try and do that between two engine suppliers ain't an easy pull.
Nope.
Especially when you consider Honda has still got their hands in Formula One, and, well, Chevrolet's involved in, well, NASCAR and IndyCar, and thinking about Formula One, sports cars, NHRA.
Yep.
See where I'm going with that?
Yep.
Honda has begun to raise some red flags over the increased cost over time. They have not guaranteed they would remain as an engine supplier, so the talks about what the next engine package might look like, whether or not another manufacturer or maybe two might be able to come in and join. That's very important to them. When the 2024 IndyCar schedule came out, you know, again, we're talking 27, we're talking 35, 36. This is a prime area where we can really use another supplier.
Sure.
I don't know who it is.
Ford.
You know, Ford seems to make sense because of their EcoBoost engine. But Nissan's out there. They're in the racing world, but they're not in any major sport. They're in sports cars for the most part.
Toyota
could come over if they wanted to expand back out. You know, there's a lot of possibilities out there, but I just don't hear of anybody right now that's kind of clamoring to do it. Time will tell. We'll see.
Yep.
When the 2024 IndyCar schedule came out, they also released the times for each race save one. That one was at Barbara Motorsports Park right here in our backyard in Alabama, where we are. Well, now we know when we're going to see the green flag on that. IndyCar announced they're going to get that race rolling just after 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central Time. That'll be a nice day for us, because guess who's going to be in the PA booth for that particular race? Yours truly. Hy-Vee, already the title sponsor of the Iowa doubleheader weekend, have announced they're going to become the title sponsor of the doubleheader weekend at the Milwaukee Mile, the Labor Day weekend as well. This will be the first time IndyCar is going to race there since 2015, and what is billed as the nation's oldest operating racetrack. They've hosted at least one race every year since 1903. You can see the logo for the weekend now on CRN Live on YouTube, thanks to IndyCar.com. And then we found out this little scheduling bit. When we get into the second event on the slate, this is the non-points race known as the $1 Million Challenge. It'll be happening at the Thermal Club in Southern California. Not only is it an expensive ticket, we've talked about that here on the show already, it's going to be an early wake-up call if you're on the West Coast.
Woo-hoo.
Start time for that race, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Central Time. So if you're in California and you want to catch this race live, green flag drops at 9:30 a.m.
Let's go.
Bring it. We've run out of time. Next week, we'll talk about state of the series, and we'll probably, unless there's some big story that just takes it over, we'll probably move this up to the top. IndyCar, or specifically, I should say, Penske Entertainment CEO Mark Miles got to talking about the state of IndyCar. And he's talking about the number of races in the year. He did talk a little bit about the engine deal that we were talking about there. He's also talking about how things might be somewhat similar to, say, NASCAR. They're talking about kind of a revised charter agreement between IndyCar and the teams that would, again, be similar, but probably not the exact same as what NASCAR is. Things like that. So we're going to get into all of that stuff next week. A little bit of Formula E news as well, but all of that's next week. Our time has run out, unfortunately. Don't forget, our podcast, Cross Flags, first episode will be done this Wednesday, and we will put it up on CRN Live on YouTube. Yep. And we'll let you know all the other ways that you can catch it as well.
Yep.
Thank you very much for joining us. Hope you join us again on Wednesday and next Saturday. And until we get the chance to talk again, enjoy the racing this weekend. I know both Matt and I are. Can't wait for it. And we'll talk to you again next week and on Wednesday, right here on Cross Flags and CRN.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
WD